to the situation there. We have heard that at least 27 children has been killed in 3 days, and another 150 or more children have been wounded in the fighting between government forces and the Taliban. So let's hear what are the latest developments. Professor, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for giving time to me, and I would like to say that, of course, many children and women, not only children, women were also killed in these attacks. But who killed them? This is the issue. Actually, there are a lot of bombardment from American side and also from Afghan, this Kabul administration. They are bombing cities. They are under the control of the Taliban, especially in Lahkargah, Helmand province, and in Kunduz, and Kandahar, and some other cities. So many children and kids were killed in these bombardments. And the people of Afghanistan, called on Kabul administration, Ashraf, whose head is the head of which is Ashraf Ghani, and also American forces to stop bombardment and not to carry out airstrikes against the people. They bombed and they hit markets, they hit the schools and hospitals. They even killed patients inside the hospitals. So that is the problem. And recently you might have heard Joe Biden, the President of the United States of America, announced airstrikes of B-52 against Afghan territory, especially the cities and the areas which are under the control of the Taliban. So this no organization, no world international organization raised any sound or any voice against Biden's this decision. So that is the problem. And from the Taliban side, I assure you there is no casualty. Taliban do not hit any civilian place or any place today, because we are talking to the provincial Kabul administration, provincial governments, to surrender to the Taliban, to surrender to, we talk to them, we the people of Afghanistan. Taliban send elder people to those government officials and to the army of Kabul administration to surrender to them, not to fight, because it will cause a casualty to the civilians. So that is what I know and what I would like to say from the ground.
And yet the Western media are blaming Taliban for these killings and hitting on civilian targets. So obviously we're not getting the correct information coming out of Afghanistan.
So if you come to Afghanistan, or the world media or the world, any international organization, they set a delegation to send to Afghanistan, to these territories where the children lost their lives and the women lost their lives. So people understand who get them. Okay. So actually, better for the past 20 years, Americans had been bombarding and killing people, civilian children, kids, and women in our homes. So who raised this issue? No world organization. So even the many international organization said that American committed war crimes, but still no one raised any of these issues. Now, when Taliban started overrunning cities and territories, so they started blaming the Taliban only to hide their loss and hide their failure in the areas. So, and they want to make the pressure against the Taliban to stop seizing and stop freeing these cities from invaders and from their slaves. So that is the issue. Otherwise, I am from Afghanistan and I live here in Afghanistan and I am a lecturer at university. But still, I believe the Taliban or the freedom fighters, they are fighting for our freedom. They are fighting the invaders, and they will never kill us. They will never kill any of our children, any of our women, because they are from our areas. So who can overrun 4, 5, 6 provinces in just 2 days? So if there is no the support of civilians with them, so if you come or any world organization, set a delegation and send them to our areas, but it should not be under the pressure of any intelligence agency or any world or any country. So definitely they will have in the report that all civilians being killed by airstrikes, and that is it.
Okay, Afghanistan has been ruled by Russia for 10 years, and when Russia pulled out, then America came in because they declared a war on terrorism. At the time, obviously, they were trying to kill, or according to the American version, they were trying to stem out terrorism and trying to kill Osama bin Laden and his followers. They've been in the country for 20 years. They're now gradually pulling out. Do you see the country being able to stand on their own 2 feet and heal the country and move forward?
Oh, okay. I didn't get your last word. I'm sorry. What?
Is Afghanistan able to come together, government forces and the Taliban? Can you go into some sort of a unity government to bring peace and stability to a land that's been under siege for the past 30 years, 10 years by the Russians, 20 years by the Americans? Is there a way forward for Afghanistan?
Yeah. Afghanistan has never been ruled by Russian or by Americans, actually.
They were occupied. They were occupied.
From the day first when they invaded our country, we started fighting back against them. That is the thing, and we never waited for invaders to rule our government or rule our country. We started fighting against them from the day first. One thing, and the second thing is American came to Afghanistan, invaded Afghanistan, and blaming Afghanistan for the 9/11 attack, but Afghanistan was never in such attacks. American now some organization also confessed that Afghanistan or the Taliban was never involved, and they even didn't know anything about it. So actually, the point is American didn't tolerate such a government, an Islamic government with Sharia law in our country. Otherwise, Osama bin Laden was just one person. They could target that person or their organization. They, at the time of Bill Clinton, they hit our host province with rockets. So they could hit Osama bin Laden's training centers and Osama bin Laden his guest room with rockets and with a cruise missile. But that was not their target. Their target was our government. That was the problem. Even now, I have heard the words of UK Defense Minister that the Taliban are overrunning the provinces they are violating human rights, and so they were returned to Afghanistan if Taliban start ruling the country. So they have problems with Sharia law. They have problems with our government, our system of government. And one thing more that you asked, whether we can make a unity government. Of course, we can make unity government. Afghanistan is 99.9% Muslim, so they believe in Islam and they want Islam. Each and every person in Afghanistan wants Islam. If you ask any government official, even they will tell you, yes, they believe in Islam and they want a Sharia law in our country. So, but the problem is the people, the intelligence agencies, they are backing some people there, some figures who oppose a peace deal. Otherwise, it was a very good chance for Ashraf Ghani's government and for this regime, because we had deal first with the US. So USA was an invading country and they are non-Muslim, but still we had a deal with them because they were serious. And the Afghan government, there are some figures, some officials who are not willing, because of their positions in the government, because of their connection with some intelligence agencies. They are not willing to have a peace deal or have a unity government. Otherwise, of course, we have no problems. We ruled this country, the Taliban ruled this country for 5 years. So we had no problems in the country. There was peace. Today there is no peace. Today there is bloodshed. Today there is robbery, theft, and corruption is at the high, but at the time of the Taliban, there was no corruption, there was no robbery, no killing of the people. All the people were living in unity and in peace, and they loved each other. So if you come to our country, the areas they are under the control of the Taliban, there is peace. There is no problem.
Professor?
But the areas they are under control of the government, there are problems. There is a robbery. There is corruption. No one feels any peace in those areas. Only in the areas they are under the control of Taliban, there is problem of bombardment, bombing, and airstrikes.
Okay, my final question to you.
These airstrikes are being carried by American forces or this Kabul administration.
All right, my final question to you, Professor. What about the opium trade? Who is benefiting from that trade? We also understand that the late Mullah Omar wanted to, or was almost succeeded in getting rid of the opium trade. Where and how does that serve or not serve the people of Afghanistan?
Okay. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you well.
I'm asking the question about the opium trade. It's a very lucrative trade. At one point, the suggestion was that the Taliban were heavily involved in opium and heroin trade to buy in exchange of weaponry. Is that a fact or not? And how is that trade going to be stopped completely? Because we know what drug abuse is causing all around the world.
Yeah, I got your question. So if you Google at the time of the Taliban, when there was 90 or 80+% heroin trade was from Afghanistan to the world at the beginning of the Taliban. So when the Taliban leadership, Mullah Omar, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Mullah Muhammad Omar, rahmahullah, when he understood about this, so he ordered to stop cultivation, to stop narcotics, and to stop all these things, because it was haram and it is against the rule of Islam, and in Sharia law it is not allowed. So there was, UN said there was only 5%, and the 5% was being cultivated, and in the areas they were not under the control of the Taliban. Almost it became 0% from in the areas. We are not in the favor of this trade, and the people, they are blaming us. They themselves were involved in this. Americans supported, and there were a lot of mafias in American army and in Afghan, this Kabul administration. They are having this business, this trade of heroin and trade of these narcotics. So we are against it. Soon we will announce, of course. If we started ruling the whole country, soon we will stop and will announce ban on the trade and also in cultivation of heroin and all these drugs. But now we cannot do it in the areas they are under our control, because the areas they are under our control, the people are very hungry, the people are very poor, they have nothing. So if we tell them to stop cultivation these things, and the government allow them to cultivate and to do this business too, so of course this will be a problem for us from our civilian. They will tell us to give them an alternative thing, so whatever it would be. So that is the problem. So inshallah, if we get the government and we started ruling our country, there would be, I guarantee and I assure you, there would be no heroin, no drugs from Afghanistan, no narcotics. Inshallah, you will see, and you will come to our country. I will invite you then, all of you, all your staff, and can see our country. Inshallah. There would be nothing, inshallah, and I assure you as a Muslim.
Inshallah. Final question. The issue around the education of girl children. We also understand, and it could be misrepresented in the Western media, that women and girl children are terribly oppressed in Afghanistan.
Yeah, of course, women and girls are terribly oppressed in Afghanistan because of the airstrikes, because their sons are lost in the airstrikes of Americans. There or airstrike. That is
okay.
That is
I'm losing you,
and they are terribly oppressed. So and there is we believe in Islam. Islam, everyone knows Islam, especially the Muslims. I'm talking about the Muslims. They know Islam. So we have a council of ulama, a council of scholars of Islam. So it is up to them. So what kind of education they allow for girls in our country? If they allow modern education, definitely no issue with them. Make him.
Now, I think we're going to have to leave it there. We are losing you. Shukran very, very much for your time and giving us perspective on the issue in Afghanistan and the fact that obviously the Taliban are there for the people and not, as they are being demonized by the Western media. Shukran very much, Assistant Professor Waheedullah Hashimi from Ghani University in Afghanistan. Assalamu alaikum.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate.